Hello my Funatics, it's Fufu here. Today we have the Week 6 battle for the GBA and I am going up against Adam, also known as TNA TV, also known as the Anaheim Mighty Duckletts. Now, he's currently top of our conference with 4 wins and 1 loss, and I am second with 3 wins and 2 losses. So going into this, it was quite a big match. It could go either way. I felt like I had a bit of team advantage here. He has in his roster both Mega Venusaur and Heatran, and I have 2 things that break that wall core amazingly well, which are Kyurem with Terravolt Ice Beam for Venusaur and Earth Power for the Heatran, and also Pinsir, which kills Venusaur with Flying Stab, and it kills the Heatran with either Earthquake or Close Combat. So it was a very powerful wall breaking core. And I knew that Adam would see that, so I thought he probably wouldn't bring the Venusaur at least, probably not the Heatran either. So I felt like I had good team matchup just with those 2 Pokemon because they were strong against his team. I decided not to bring my Pinsir because Adam actually had a lot of contingency against Pinsir. He's got 2 electric types, he's got a Latias to outspeed, he's got Ice Shard to check it on the Mamoswine, and he's got a Crobat. He's got lots of things to take it on, and he's got a Regirock which can take hits from Pinsir for days. So Pinsir, I didn't feel like was my best choice against this team, especially because I didn't think that he'd be bringing Venusaur and probably not Heatran either. But I thought that Kyurem was great because even against all those things I've just mentioned, Kyurem does the work. He's really powerful. I went with a sub set, mainly specially based with Ice Beam and Earth Power, and I knew that he'd probably be bringing Vaporeon if he's not going to be bringing his other walls, so I put Fusion Bolt on there and made it a subset, which works very nicely. It's kind of the standard set from OU, I think, and I invested quite heavily in speed as well, so that Jolly Mamoswine did not outspeed. That was the only thing that I had to speed creep, but that means that I can be a plus special attack nature, so I'm hitting really hard. So on the other things on this team I wanted to bring, I did actually bring my Dragon Fairy Steel Core with Sylveon and Skarmory. With Skarmory I had to give it the Shed Shell because he does have Magnezone in his roster and I didn't want to play around with that. I also brought Rocks on Skarmory because his team is relatively weak against Rocks, but he has Defog all over the place. So getting my Rocks up wasn't really too crucial, but I did want to keep Rocks away for one reason I will mention in a second. On my Sylveon, it's just a Wish Protect Hyper Voice set, but with Hidden Power Ground, because as I said, he's got Heatran and also Magnezone. So to hit those 2 things that resist my Hyper Voice, I decided to put Hidden Power Ground on there, and hopefully that would do the trick. So the reason that I wanted Defog on my Skarmory really was because obviously I have Rotom and I have the Kyurem, but also I was going to bring 2 Sashas. I've got Alakazam, which obviously Magic Guard Sash makes sense. It's really nice speed tier against his team. Only Crobat and potential Scarfers outspeed it, and it hits pretty much his whole team super effectively, which is so nice. And then we've got a Sash Infernape, because Sash Infernape is really good. Again, it's a really good speed against this team, and again, it hits a lot of his team really well. So they've got great coverage between them, and it's really good. I've also got a Rotom. Now, Rotom was because electric types are pretty scary. I do have a ground type in the form of Donphan, but I decided to go with AV Rotom because it means that I can keep offensive presence, it means that I can hit Vaporeon with something else, and it's got some surprise coverage moves on there. I do have the Hidden Power Ground again. I also have the Shadow Ball for Latias because it should do a little bit of damage, not too much, but with max investment modest, I think that Rotom could be quite powerful. So that's the team. I really like this team. It was much more offensive than a lot of the teams I've gone with before. Even with my Sylveon having Hidden Power Ground just to hit things up. So even my walls are hopefully packing it a little bit of a punch. Looking at what Adam brought, he brought generally what I thought he would bring. He didn't bring the Mega Venusaur, he didn't bring the Heatran, he did bring the Vaporeon, and he brought Thundurus. I was quite scared of. I thought he might bring Terrakion, but he didn't. That was kind of good for me because I didn't want to see Terrakion, but I still prepared for it anyway, so yeah, that's basically the matchup as I see it now. I wanted to lead with Kyurem because if he didn't lead with Latias, which is the only thing that outspeed and could pop me with a Draco, I felt like Kyurem was a good lead. So let's get into this battle. As you can see, he actually ended up leading with Crobat, presumably for the U-turn. And yeah, we'll see how things go. This is, again, recorded in Aorus, even though it has to be played in X and Y for this season of the GBA. So we've got the matchup, and I see that he's called his Crobat Deoxys D. I thought the Crobat might have Taunt. Also, Crobat gets Infiltrator, so there's no point me setting up a sub on the first turn. So I'm just going to go straight for an Ice Beam. Don't really mind at this stage if he goes into Vaporeon. I can sub on that and Fusion Bolt it. He went into Mamoswine. I thought that this could be a problem because obviously he was this Ice Beam with the Thick Fat. Apart from that, does way too much damage, and I don't actually think he's Thick Fat Mamoswine. I do know though, I did calcs, and Earth Power is a 2-hit KO on Mamoswine anyway, so I could really damage that thing, especially if he wanted to get up rocks, but I doubt that he would try to get up rocks. But I managed to 2-hit KO his Mamoswine really early game, which is great for me. And I think it's just because Kyurem was a huge threat to his team. He didn't really have too many switch-ins. Vaporeon I could sub on, and so that was yeah, really just a show of how threatening Kyurem was to him. So now I'm going to switch straight out into my Sylveon on the Latias, because obviously outspeeds, can go for a Dragon type move. Don't want it to do that. I'm going to go straight for a Hyper Voice. There's no need for me to throw up a Wish because nothing is damaged, and I'm not really scared of anything. Apart from that, I do predict the switch. I predict the switch into Magnezone. I was really happy about this. Managed to cripple that thing so early on in the game. So I've taken down one Mon and severely crippled another, and everything is really going my way right now. I do have an easy switch into my AV rotom-h. This Magnezone will not be able to do anything to me, so that's really good for me. And I am going to fire off a Shadow Ball right now. I don't want to go for an Overheat because he could well go into Vaporeon. He could also go into Latias, so I'm going to go for a Shadow Ball just to see what he wants to do. And he does actually go into Latias, so again getting that hit off, which really helps out. And I'm going to switch into my Sylveon because Sylveon is an easy switch on this Latias. I do have that big bulk on both sides, so even if he wants to go for a Side Shock, I should be able to take it. Not seeing any items on his Mons at the moment though. Really don't know what that Latias could be. It could be Life Orb, which is the general set they use in OU, but this is not OU, this is GBA, so it could be freaking anything. I'm going to go for a Hyper Voice again because I don't need to worry about Magnezone coming in this time because it's so low on health. Crobat doesn't take the Hyper Voice too well. That's a really nice bit of chip damage, and I am going to go into my Skarmory. The Crobat does go for a U-turn, which is fine. I was thinking he might have the Cross Poison or something to hit my Sylveon, but the U-turn's a good play. It means that he could potentially go into Magnezone if he wanted to try and trap my Skarmory, but I do have Shed Shell, and Adam makes a good play by going into Thundurus because Thundurus is far more threatening to my team. He can go for a Volt Switch right now, but again, I've got my Kyurem, which can resist that Volt Switch and put the pressure on the team again because only this and Latias outspeed it, and so I can probably take them on pretty well. Oh no, and Crobat. Of course Crobat outspeeds it, but Crobat probably can't kill my Kyurem because it's so freaking bulky with all that HB. So he does Volt Switch out into his Latias, and I make an awful play right now. I get impatient and I stay in on the Latias. However, the Latias misses a Draco, which is huge, and I felt so bad at the time. I should not have made that play. I was ahead. I had the advantage. There was no need for me to make such a risky play. It was so unnecessary. I could have gone into my Sylveon, and I have switches for pretty much all of his Mons at the moment, so I don't need to be playing risky. I can just play safe. And I do exactly the same thing this next turn as well. I haven't seen an item on this Thundurus, and it just comes in, it goes for a Focus Blast, takes out my Kyurem. That was an awful play. Kyurem is the hardest thing I have to hit his Vaporeon, and it hits everything else on his team so hard. I should have preserved it and gone into something else like my Rotom that can take the hits. So that was a really bad misplay. I was being way too reckless with my Kyurem. I should have played safer and preserved Kyurem because he puts in the work. If I get a sub up on something, I can do loads and loads of work, but now I don't have my Kyurem. I'm having to rely on other things to hit this Vaporeon. The Volt Switch does quite a lot of damage. I didn't expect it to do that much, but it's really not enough when the Vaporeon has access to Wish. You did see that I got a crit with a Shadow Ball just there, and actually that's kind of a running theme with this Vaporeon. It just gets all the hacks. It's a hacks magnet. It was very one-sided in terms of hacks in this match, and for that I can only apologise to Adam because he played really well, especially towards the end game. He was really pressuring my team, so I felt bad about that. But now I'm in with Sylveon, and I'm just going to throw up some Hyper Voices to try, just to see how much they're doing to the Vaporeon. Because I don't really know how this matchup will go. I know that he can burn me with a Vaporeon, but the Scalds will really be doing nothing to my Sylveon. So I'm just going to go for a Hyper Voice to gauge how much it's doing. And this is kind of just a bit of stally portion, but you could go for the Hyper Voice, and that does a lot of damage, and it's a crit. As I say, the Vaporeon is just a Hacks Magnet. So it's going to want to take this Wish itself, I'm assuming. So I'm going to switch out into my Rotom right now, seeing what he wants to go for, as the Vaporeon just go for the Protect, which is the ideal situation for me because it means that I don't have to take a Scald, which I would have taken because I'm an AV Rotom, but I wouldn't have appreciated that much because Vaporeon still has a huge special attack stat. People sleep on it, but it is a massive special attack stat. So now I'm just going to go for a Shadow Ball, which may seem a bit odd, but it means that I'm covering for if he wants to go into his Thunderous, I can just go for that Shadow Ball to get some damage on that, but also means that I can chip on this Vaporeon so that then I can get it into range where maybe a Volt Switch will kill. Now you see here, I get the special defense drop on the Vaporeon, which is just stupid. It does force a Vaporeon to switch out right now. I should have kept on going for Shadow Balls, but if it did want to stay in, it could take the Shadow Ball and do big damage to me with a Scald. But really, I really should have just kept on going for Shadow Balls. I did end up going for the Volt Switch, wanting to take out the Vaporeon, but Adam knows that Vaporeon is far too important for him, so he makes the good play, going into the Thunderous Therian. And here, again, I should have seen the Volt Switch coming. I should have seen that coming, so I should have gone for a Shadow Ball. Again, I went for an Overheat because I know that that does about 80% to a Thunderous. The thing is, the Thunderous could have been a setup set. If it had gone for a Nasty Plot right there, getting the damage on was the best thing for me to do. But going for the Overheat means that I drop my special attack, and it means that this Vaporeon will be able to live any of my attacks. So potentially going for the Shadow Ball there again would have been better play for me because it would have had me in good stead against this Vaporeon, and I possibly would have been able to KO the Volt Switch, maybe not after a Protect. I am going to Volt Switch here now, just to get a little bit of damage on the Vaporeon, and wanting to get out of there so that my special attack can go back up to normal. But Adam switches out into the Magnezone. I can go into my Alakazam and get the kill on that with the Psyshock. I know that Alakazam outspeeds even Scarf Magnezone. I haven't seen an item on this. I don't know what it is. Adam was messing with my head. I didn't see like any. I still don't know what half of his team's items were. It was crazy. So now he's going to go into Crobat. I know this outspeeds, but I do see the U-turn coming, and I definitely think that he'll be going into Vaporeon. I do not think that he'll be going into the, whatchamacallit, the Thunderous. He won't want to stay in with the Crobat because Crobat's pretty important to him. So I'm just going to go straight for an Energy Ball, predicting the Vaporeon, and that works out perfectly. It really, really helps me right there because Vaporeon could still have been a massive problem if I didn't get that right, and it could have tanked 2 Psyshocks, for example. Then it would have been really, really annoying because I couldn't have my Alakazam die to the Scald. I still want Alakazam to hit more things. So Alakazam's doing a really nice job here, notching 2 kills, a very important one in the form of Vaporeon. Now Crobat can come back in. I don't want my Alakazam to die just yet. I'm going to switch out into my Skarmory, and this is when shenanigans begin. We've still got about a quarter of the battle left, and Adam's just going to keep the pressure on because he's got a Volt Turn core going, and I don't have too much to answer that at the moment. I mean, as soon as something goes down, I can probably win the game, but I don't want to sack unnecessarily. So I'm going to go into my Rotom here to take the Volt Switch, as that's likely what he's going to go for. Skarmory is still very useful against the Crobat, so whereas Rotom's at a low amount of health, so I don't mind if that is the sack that I want to do. I'm going to switch out into my Skarmory here because there's a chance that Crobat might have wanted to KO my Rotom with a poison type move or something like that. So I'm going to go into Skarmory, thinking of differential and trying to preserve my Rotom, but Adam makes a good play by going for the U-turn, meaning that I can't get a Brave Bird or Stealth Rocks up, so that's a good play, keeping the Volt Turn pressure on, and means that he can go into his Thunderous, as I'm going to switch out into my Rotom again. Now, this is just playing musical Pokemon because it just keeps switching and keeps switching on the Volt turn. I am kind of just trying to sacrifice my Rotom at this stage because it's at such low HP. So Adam can go back into his Crobat, but I want him to be in on the Thundurus when Rotom goes down, because that means I can bring in my Alakazam and hopefully outspeed. I still don't know that Thundurus is Scarf. So there's a chance that it's Thundurus is Scarf, which could be a bit of a problem. It would mean that Sylveon would have to be doing a bit more work, or I'd have to burn my Sash on my Infernape to try and take that down. So he's going to go into his Thundurus. I'm going to go into my Alakazam and hopefully outspeed. If I can get this damage on with Alakazam, it means that my Infernape can definitely clean up. And I do manage to outspeed. I actually get a crit on the Thundurus, which, I mean, it could have mattered because all he has left is Crobat and I can switch out into my Skarmory to take any hits from that, but I kind of just don't, and I kind of let my Alakazam die, which is not good GBA play. That is not good because I could have preserved an extra +1, which may well end up mattering going into playoff places. But now I can go safely into my Infernape. I think it was slightly impatience as well because a Skarmory Crobat matchup could take a while if Crobat has Taunt, meaning that I can't Roost and he could whittle me with, yeah, whatever. But no, I can go into my Infernape. As long as he's not a King's Rock Crobat and flinches me, that should be okay. I can Thunder Punch him and get the win with my Iron Fist. And that's exactly what happens. So that will be the game. It was a 3-0. It was very scrappy and I got a lot of the luck, and which I think Adam deserved a much better differential than that because I played recklessly with my Kyurem. I didn't need to play recklessly and he played well as well. So I feel like that should have been a closer match than the score represents. But I also kind of want to berate myself a little bit because I think that I could have got an even bigger differential if I had played my Kyurem better. I'm not sure. Obviously, at that stage in the match, there was still a lot to play for, and it could have gone either way. And I don't know, but Kyurem was putting so much pressure on his team that I really think that if I preserved it, it would have done even more work. Anyways, that will be the match for this week. It puts me at a 4-2 win-loss, and Adam also at a 4-2 win-loss. Adam's differential, though, is much better than mine. I had 2 big losses, whereas all Adam's games have been relatively good, so he hasn't got that minus differential. So he's still top of our conference. I am still second, but I am edging my way above Demo, who's 2-4. So Demo can't lose any more matches. Otherwise, both me and Adam go through, and we only need to win 1 more to guarantee our place in the playoffs. So things are getting close, and it's getting to the end game right now. I do actually play Demo next week, so that is a decider. If I win that, then both me and Adam go through. If I lose that, then it's still all up in the air, and it'll go right to last week. So I really want to win next week, so that it's kind of pressure off when I come to face Adam again in the final week. So I've got 2 pretty big games coming up. If I can beat Demo and beat Adam, then that would be great, because I think I'll be going through. Well, it depends on how Adam does, I guess, but I might be going through top of my group, maybe. But it's going to be interesting. It's going to be really interesting. If I lose them both, Demo may still beat me. So he's still got a chance, and he can definitely pull it out because he did beat me last time. So it's getting very exciting. I hope you guys are enjoying the GBA, and yeah, I'm getting into it now. I think I know my team pretty well. I think I know my strengths. I think I know my weaknesses, and I've tried out everything on my team. So it's gonna be good. The reason I want to do well next week is that it means I can go a bit more experimental with Adam in the last week, because I have some other plans that I could use against him, because I will have to play him twice if I get into the playoffs. Anyways, that's it for this week. I've been Fufu, you've been awesome, and hopefully see you next time. Bye.